Story 1. The Growing Shadow. Working as a junior researcher at Site-23, I'd heard rumors of SCP-3176, a sentient shadow capable of expanding its size indefinitely. I thought it was a joke, one of those urban legends that circled new hires to keep them on edge. But that changed when I was assigned to its containment cell for routine maintenance. The room was cold, colder than it should have been. SCP-3176 was confined to a cubic cell illuminated by high-powered halogen lights. The light kept it pinned to one corner, a small, perfectly black blotch on the wall. As I approached, clipboard in hand, the shadow moved. Not toward me. It didn't need to. It began expanding, crawling across the wall like spilled ink. "Stay within protocol," I muttered to myself, reviewing the procedures. Never let the shadow exceed 10 square meters. I radioed for the light reinforcement team, but static filled the response channel. The shadow reached the floor, stretching across the concrete like it was alive. I backed away, but my flashlight began to flicker. Suddenly, I felt the temperature drop further, like the air was being sucked out of the room. Then I heard it, a low, guttural whisper emanating from the dark. My chest tightened, and my vision blurred. I barely managed to scramble out and seal the door behind me. I later learned that SCP-3176 had mimicked my voice over the comms to delay the response team. No one knows why it let me leave, but the whispers haven't stopped. Sometimes, I think it marked me that day. Story 2. The Endless Hallway. SCP-9047, nicknamed the Infinite Corridor, was one of the more benign anomalies, or so we thought. As a junior scientist, I was tasked with collecting data on its dimensions. The corridor appeared as a 20-meter stretch of blank, white walls, but once entered, it extended infinitely for the subject. Equipped with a tracking device, I stepped in, taking notes on the environmental conditions. At first, it was uneventful, just a long, sterile hallway. But after 10 minutes, the walls began to ripple, as though the structure were breathing. "Report any anomalies," the intercom instructed. I described the shifting walls, but the response came in delayed, garbled. "Key walking." The lights overhead flickered. My device lost its signal. I turned back, but the entrance had disappeared. Panic set in as a low hum filled the air, growing louder until it felt like my skull was vibrating. That's when I saw it, a figure, far ahead, standing perfectly still. At first, I thought it was another researcher, but as I approached, the figure mirrored my movements exactly. It had no face, just a blank void where its head should have been. I froze, but it kept moving toward me. I ran. The figure's footsteps echoed behind me, faster and louder. Just as my legs gave out, I stumbled through the exit, back into the lab. My colleagues found me screaming, though I have no memory of what I said. They reviewed my footage, but it cut to static the moment the figure appeared. To this day, no one knows how SCP-9047 generates its inhabitants, but I'm haunted by the thought that the figure was me. Story 3. The Screaming Box. SCP-1423, a small, metallic box emitting faint, muffled sounds, was one of the newest anomalies in containment. My task was to study its acoustic properties, determine the source of the sounds, and catalog its behaviors. It seemed simple enough. The box sat on a reinforced table in a soundproof room. At first, I heard faint whispers when I got close. They were nonsensical, overlapping voices speaking in a language I couldn't identify. But after hours of analysis, the whispers became screams. I recoiled as the sounds grew unbearably loud, even though the equipment showed no increase in decibels. It wasn't just noise, it was in my head. The voices spoke my name, listing personal details no one could know. I tried to leave, but the door wouldn't budge. The room seemed darker, smaller. The box vibrated violently, emitting flashes of light. Suddenly, I saw things, memories that weren't mine. People, places, screams. One of the voices said, "You're part of it now." When the door finally opened, I collapsed, bleeding from my ears. The team pulled me out, shutting the box away. But something followed me. At night, I still hear those screams, faint but growing louder. No one knows who or what. is inside SCP-1423, but I'm terrified it's still reaching out, looking for its next victim.